In the last video, I showed you the problem that is not a lack of time or discipline. It's a broken biological system running on bad data. Today, I'm going to prove it to you with one of specific symptom you are experiencing every single day. It's 3 p.m. The brain fog rolls in. You're staring at your laptop. Your eyes are heavy. You're fighting to stay present. You reach for that third espresso, maybe a 5-hour energy, just to survive the afternoon block of meetings. By the time you get home to your wife and kids, the tank is completely empty. You have nothing left. You are physically there, but mentally not. And the story you tell yourself is, this is just getting older. This is what happens in your 40s. This is normal. It's not normal. It is cellular starvation. And today, I'm going to show you exactly what's happening inside your body at 3 p.m. Why caffeine is making it worse, and every single fix that takes 10 minutes and costs you nothing. But first, you need to understand why your energy is crashing in the first place. You think you're tired because you work hard? That's just the easiest explanation. The biological explanation? It's different. You are tired because your mitochondria are wrecked. Mitochondria are the powerful plants inside your cells. They take the food that you eat and they convert it into usable energy. Every cell in your body depends on them. But your brain, which weighs about 2% of your body, uses 20% of your energy. It depends on them more than anything else. When your mitochondria are not functioning properly, this is the first thing that goes is your brain, your focus, your clarity, the ability to hold a thought through a 2-hour meeting. That is mitochondria output. So why is your mitochondria failing? Let me walk you through a typical day, and I'm going to describe it so specifically that you're going to think that I've been following you around, because I've seen this exact pattern hundreds of times. You grabbed a healthy wrap at the airport lounge, or you had a big carb heavy lunch with a client, a sandwich, maybe pasta, a glass of wine or something. Seemed fine. Normal business lunch. Here's what happened inside your body. That meal, it spiked your blood glucose to around 160. Your pancreas dumped insulin to pull the sugar out of your bloodstream, but it overshot because that is what happens when you flood the system with the refined carbohydrates. So instead of leveling off at a stable 100, your blood sugar crashed down to around 70. That crash drop from 160 to 70 is just not uncomfortable. Your brain interprets this as a survival emergency. It thinks you're starving, so it triggers emergency cortisol release. Your stress hormones spike. Your body goes into a conservation mode. And right around 3 p.m., that's when you're gonna feel it. The fog, the heaviness, the inability to think clearly. Now, here's where most guys make it worse. You feel the crash. So what do? You reach for the caffeine. Caffeine feels like it fixes the problem, right? But here is what it actually does. Throughout your day, your brain accumulates a molecule called adenosine. Adenosine is your body's natural sleep pressure signal. The more adenosine builds up, the more tired you feel, and that is by design. It is your body telling you it needs rest. Caffeine does not remove the adenosine. It does not give you energy. It blocks the receptors. It puts a piece of tape over the check engine light. That adenosine is still building up behind the blockage. You just cannot feel it yet. So what do? You power through that afternoon on borrowed time. And then at 10 p.m., when the caffeine finally clears your system, all that accumulated adenosine floods in all at once. But now, you have a different problem. Your sleep architecture gets destroyed. And that is the part nobody talks about. When you go to bed with that much adenosine backed up and cortisol levels are still elevated from the afternoon crash, your body cannot get into deep sleep. You might be in bed for 7 or 8 hours, but the quality is wrecked. And you get almost no deep REM sleep. And deep sleep is not just optional. It is when your body produces testosterone. It is when your brain clears all the plaque and the waste of the protein linked into your cognitive decline. It is when your muscles recover, and it is when your immune system resets. So the carb-heavy lunch crashes your blood sugar. The caffeine hides a crash but destroys your sleep. The wrecked sleep tanks your testosterone and your brain recovery. And you wake up unrested, and you reach for more caffeine. Have another carb-heavy lunch. And the cycle is restarting again every single day. And every day that hole is going to get deeper. That's not aging, my friend. That is a system that's eating itself. Here's the fix, and it is so simple, you're going to be angry no one told you this sooner. This is the first thing I give every client who walks through my door, and is the one change they always come back and tell me they wish they had known 10 years ago. We have to flatten the glucose curve. If we prevent the spike, we prevent the crash. If we prevent the crash, we prevent the cortisol dump. If we prevent the cortisol dump, we protect the sleep. The whole chain breaks at one link. After your heaviest meal of the day, which is usually lunch, you do not sit back down at your desk. You do not open your laptop. You do not check Slack. You get up and you take a brisk 10-minute walk. That's it, 10 minutes, a walking pace. No gym, no gear, no shower after, just walk. Now let me tell you why this works, because of the mechanism and what makes it evidence, just not advice. When you walk, muscles contract. specifically your legs, which contains the largest muscle groups in your body. When those muscles contract, they do something remarkable. They pull glucose out of your bloodstream and into the muscle cells. And here is a critical part. They do it without needing insulin. Normally, insulin is a gatekeeper. Your pancreas releases it, and insulin signals your cells to open up and take in the glucose. But muscular contraction creates a separate insulin-independent pathway. Your muscles just grab the glucose directly. It is like a back door into the cell that bypasses the entire insulin system. The result? A post-meal walk blunts the blood sugar spike up to 30%. The 160 spike becomes 112. The crash from 160 to 70 becomes a gentle slope from 112 to 95. Your brain never hits the emergency button. Cortisol stays level. And at 3 p.m., you're still sharp. Before you dismiss this as some simple ass thing, let me explain to you what you're actually doing that those 10 minutes beyond the glucose blunting. You are shifting your nervous system. After a big meal, your body dumps blood into your gut for digestion. That is part of why you feel sluggish. A brisk walk redistributes blood flow. It pulls circulation back from your brain and into your extremities. Your parasympathetic nervous system gets a bump, which means your body handles the digestion without putting you into a coma. You are also clearing cortisol. Low intensity movement is one of the most effective ways to metabolize stress hormones. That walk is not just blunting the glucose spike, it is actively lowering the cortisol your body was about to release in response to the crash that you just prevented. And you're protecting your sleep 8 hours before your head hits the pillow. Because if you prevent the spike, you prevent the crash. If you prevent the crash, you do not need the caffeine. If you do not need the caffeine, your adenosine cycle stays clean. And a clean adenosine means deep sleep, testosterone production, brain plaque clearance, a full recovery. That's it, 10 minutes after lunch, every day. That is the domino that tips everything else. Now I know what you were thinking. I have calls at 1 p.m. I have a full afternoon. I don't have 10 minutes. You do. You take the call on your feet. You walk to the parking lot while you dial. You take the stairs to the next floor and walk halfway while your team sets up the projector. You find 10 minutes because 10 minutes is not a workout. It's a transition. It is a bridge between your lunch and your afternoon. And without it, the afternoon is already lost. If you run a company, you make decisions all day about where to allocate resources for the highest return. This is the highest return of 10 minutes of your entire day. Nothing else you do between 12:30 and 1 p.m. will have a bigger impact on how you perform over the next 6 hours. That 10-minute walk is just one lever, one input into one part of the system, and it works. If you did nothing else from this video but walk for 10 minutes after lunch every day, your afternoons would change. But here's what it proves. It proves you do not need to completely up in your life to see a massive biological shift. You do not need to become a gym rat. You do not need to become a personal chef. You do not need to meditate for an hour. You need the right inputs. The walk fixed the glucose spike. But what about the underlying insulin sensitivity that caused the spike to be so dramatic in the first place? What about the cortisol baseline that was already elevated before the crash? What about that testosterone that has been declining for years because your sleep has been wrecked for years? One lever is not enough to fix a system that has been breaking down for a decade or more. It is not enough to prove that a system can be fixed. And that is the important part. Your body is not a mystery, it's a machine. And like any machine, it has inputs and outputs and a dashboard that tells you exactly what is happening within inside. The problem is that nobody has ever shown you that dashboard. Your doctor runs a basic panel maybe once a year, checks your cholesterol, maybe checks your fasting glucose, tells you everything looks fine. But that panel does not show insulin resistance until it's already become prediabetes. It does not show testosterone decline until you're clinically deficient. It does not show cortisol patterns at all. You're driving a car with no gauges and your mechanic only checks the tires once a year. Now imagine what happens when we stop just treating the afternoon crash and start looking at the entire machine. When you pull an 80+ biomarker blood panel, you see the whole picture. You see exactly how your body processes insulin. You see where your cortisol sits throughout the day, not just one snapshot. You see your free testosterone, not just the total number your GP checks. You see inflammatory markers that predict problems years before they become diagnoses. And when you pair that blood work with a CGM, you are getting something no generic fitness plan can give you. You're getting data. And in real time, specific to your biology, your meals, your travel, your stress patterns. You stop following advice and you start following evidence. And that's the difference between fixing the afternoon crash and fixing the entire machine. The walk, that is the entry point. The data is the system. I want to talk about the part that never makes it into a fitness video. That's what happens at 7 p.m. You walk through the door. Your kids, they're excited to see you. Your wife has been holding down the house all day. And you got nothing. You are physically present, but you checked out 2 hours ago. You sit on the couch, you scroll your phone, you're short with the people you love because your biology has been running on fumes since 3 p.m. And here's what kills me about this. These are the men who are the most disciplined people in any room they walk into. They can grind it out for 14-hour days. They can close deals with no sleep. They can operate at a level that would break most people. But by the time they get home, the thing that matters most to them gets the worst version of them. Your kids are not going to remember the deals you closed. They're going to remember whether their dad had the energy to be there. And right now, that answer is no. Not because you do not want to be there, because your biology is not letting you. That is not a willpower problem. That is a system problem. And system problems have system solutions. Stop running your multi-million-dollar brain on a broken biological battery. Click the link below. Let's pull the labs and get your edge back. No hype, just standards. So here is what you know now. The 3 p.m. crash is not because you're getting older. It is a glucose spike, followed by a crash, masked by caffeine, compounded by destroyed sleep every day on repeat. The first fix is free, the 10-minute executive walk after your heaviest meal every day. It blunts the spike, protects the sleep, and gives you back your afternoon. Start there today. But the walk is just one lever, and your body is a system with dozens of levers, most of which you have never seen. When someone comes to me, we pull the full picture, the 80+ biomarker blood panel that maps your hormones, your inflammation, your metabolic health. A Whoop on your wrist, tracking to your recovery, your HRV, and your sleep in real time. And then we fix a cellular engine from the ground up, not with guesswork, with your data. So you wake up sharp, you dominate the boardroom, and at 7 p.m., when you walk through that door, you actually have the energy to be a father. We fixed your energy crash, but your nervous system hasn't turned off in years. The cardiovascular damage, that's measurable. And I will show you the labs. That's next.